breakdown. David Pastrnak being on a scoring tear. Also, they give a preview of Connor McDavid and the Oilers taking on the Bruins. And in the latest episode, you hear some interviews from the Beanpot schools as the women's teams are gearing up for that iconic Boston tournament starting next week. That's Hockey Hub, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and YouTube. And you could also watch on NESN's YouTube page as well. And if you go there, hit the subscribe button. Now, let's get to the chat.
I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Jerod because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships.
Heard it right there, Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, taking full accountability on the disaster that was this past season for the New England Patriots. And you hear it in his voice, Trav. He's really feeling that's on him. What Jerod Mayo went through, what he dealt with, what his perception is now in Boston, he's taking ownership because he knows he set him up for failure.
I appreciate this from Robert Kraft.
Me too.
You know, you and I debated all season long, and I kept telling you, Jerod Mayo's going to get fired. This is a disaster. He's clearly in over his skis. And you kept saying to me, and I couldn't really come back at you because I agreed with you, that the Krafts will never admit that they made a mistake here. And that is exactly what Robert Kraft just did. So for that, and anyone in your life, when you take accountability and responsibility when something goes wrong, that's what we teach. I have kids. I teach my kids that all the time, right? Clean it up. If you mess it up, clean it up. Admit you're wrong. Say sorry, whatever, and move forward. Kudos to Robert Kraft. And again, I've also been consistent with this, George, where I don't think he did anything wrong. Did we want Mike Vrabel, the collective we as in Patriots Nation, did we want Mike Vrabel a year ago? Yes. Okay, yes. But the Krafts went with Jerod Mayo. Fine. You made a mistake, and now you owned it. The big mistake would be continuing on like you're not making a mistake. Like, damn it, Jerod Mayo's going to work when we saw it was not going to work. So kudos to Robert Kraft. You could hear there, as you said, filled with emotions. I believe him. He felt terrible for putting Jerod Mayo in that position. He was not ready. He said everything right, and the emotion in his voice told me that it's true. He believes it. He knows he made a mistake. Fine. You owned up to it. Now let's move forward with Vrabel or whoever's. Maybe Ben Johnson. I know we're going to talk about that, but the fact that you ripped the Band-Aid off, took accountability and ownership, said this didn't work, I'm cool with that. I am at peace with this move.
I'm at peace with it. You hear it in his voice. He's taking it serious. He takes full accountability. And he mentioned so many times, I mean, what his connection was to Jerod Mayo, how badly he wanted him to succeed. And he said he still thinks he can succeed wherever that may be. And maybe he could. But it just shows that the structure is needed. It has to be more than a head coach. And what we saw unfold this past season exposed just how much Bill Belichick was doing for the Patriots. Did he have his shortcomings with drafting? Did he have his shortcomings with free agency and personnel overall? For sure. Did he have shortcomings in coaching? No. Did he have his shortcomings in building out a coaching staff? Yes, because at the end, he wasn't trusting anyone, bringing anyone in new, and that's why you have the Matt Patricia, Joe Judge experiences and all of that. But you see Robert Kraft going up there and wearing it that this is on him, and he wants people to put the blame on him, which I respect. I mean, and that's why when the news came down that Jerod Mayo was fired, it said this is not enough. There has to be changes in the personnel department. There have to be changes in the leadership, how they do everything, and he commented on that as well. But to hear Robert Kraft come out and wear it and own it and take full accountability, that's a lot more you'll get from a lot of owners, a lot of delusional billionaires out there.
Okay, then let's stay here for a second. You come out, you take ownership, accountability. I made a mistake. This is on me. Jerod Mayo is my friend. I feel terrible. We have to move on. Okay, great. Now you have to make this right in the sense of, and I always use this analogy of a pendulum. Okay, Belichick was one end of the spectrum where no one's involved my way or the highway. Mayo was a disaster. You tried to control him. That made it worse because he's trying to learn on the fly.
Yep.
You have to meet in the middle, Robert Kraft. Now, this is why Vrabel does make more sense than Ben Johnson, although I'm a Ben Johnson guy. Vrabel makes more sense because he knows the Patriot way. Mm-hmm. He has enough experience and enough cachet with Robert Kraft to where you don't need a debriefing after every game with Mike Vrabel. He ain't going for that any damn ways, okay? Communication's fine.
Yep.
Communication's fine. So you have to now meet in the middle of two monsters, Belichick and Mayo. Meet in the middle, have professionalism, have open lines of communication, have a great relationship, but get the hell out of the way and let Vrabel hire his own coaching staff and GM and get out of the way and let him rebuild this team, which is exactly what this is. And you can commit to a Mike Vrabel in different ways than you could a Jerod Mayo.
Yeah.
Jerod Mayo was so green and learning on the job that, yeah, you're committing. They said all the right things all year, but we see that was lip service because Jerod Mayo was in over his skis.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel's not going to be in over his skis.
Yeah.
So you can commit 3. What were you saying off season? You think this is a 3 or 4 year
Jerod
rebuild,
Mayo
right?
is a 3-year plan.
But
Whoever the next
whoever
the next head coach is a 3-year commitment
Okay,
too.
so my
Look,
point
next
is
year,
you can commit 3
next
years
year
with
is
Vrabel.
year one of just be respectable. Get
Right.
6 or 7 wins.
Yes.
Be competitive. And actually pull out some wins where you're not supposed to.
That's right.
The following years, you get closer to the cusp of being in the playoffs and maybe sneak in. Maybe steal a game. Maybe it comes down to week 18. But by year 3, that has to be, this is a team in the playoffs. I don't need playoff wins. I know everyone does.
Sure.
And if you get in, you're expected to win at that point. But 2 seasons from the first season, there has to be serious return on investment in the head coach.
Yeah, okay. So that's my point, I guess, is you bring in a Vrabel, you can at least see the forest through the trees in terms of commitment. Mike Vrabel, with his experience, with his cachet, with his history with this franchise, you can commit. And you're not expecting. I heard a lot of this. Well, what was Jerod Mayo supposed to do? It's not so much wins and losses. We've talked about this on Foxborough Rush a lot, and here on Boston Has Entered the Chat, where we all knew this team wasn't going to win a ton of games. It's not so much that. It was the fact that they were regressing. It was the fact that Mayo was putting his foot in his mouth in the media every damn day, it felt like.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of those things. Players lashing out. You're not getting any of that nonsense with Vrabel. So, you know, I look at it now as though, yes, now they can commit to a Mike Vrabel to come in and truly rebuild this thing. If anything, you're a year behind the 8 ball because you should have hired him a year ago. But Robert Kraft owned up to it. We're moving on.
Need more, though. Need changes in the front office. Need changes in leadership, and we'll get to all that. Let's bring in Sean McGuire of NESN.com. He was down at Gillette today covering the Robert Kraft presser. Sean, presser lasted about 10, 12 minutes. Abrupt cutoff at the end of Robert. Last question was about Elliot Wolf. But most importantly, what were your takeaways from how Robert Kraft is speaking? You see how much it hurt him to have to fire Jerod Mayo, but also with a lot of comments being an open book about what he wants to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think there was a handful of things. I mean, I know you guys just talked about it off the top, but I'll just double down on it, and I completely agree. I mean, just the fact that he came out and said, you know, this whole situation is on me. I think, you know, kudos to him. Good for him. I wrote last night about how Kraft, I think, deserves some credit for pulling the plug because, you know, as we've said, the worst thing that he could have do was just to look at it like, you know, well, we got hope and we got potential in Jerod Mayo, so let's run it back. I think that would have been a terrible decision. So he righted, you know, he righted the wrong. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, yeah, he wasted a year. He wasted a year of Drake May's rookie contract, but really is one season all that big of a is that all that important, you know, when you look in the grand scheme of things? And I don't think so. So I think when it comes down to it, the fact that he was able to correct this mistake after just 1 year, I think that's you know, notable and, you know, good for him. I think there are a lot of other things that kind of come out, not just about that, but Patriots coaches haven't yet been told that that they're fired. It certainly sounds like, you know, that decision will be up to the head coach. Then you go to Elliot Wolf. Him and his staff are sticking around. Kraft used the word evolved when describing the personnel department. And, you know, he also mentioned how the drafts just haven't been good in recent years and how that really plays a factor. Obviously Wolf was only at the helm for one of those drafts, so a little bit of that is on Belichick. But yeah, I just think a lot of that stuff was noteworthy. And then when he really got into the fact of why Jerod was fired, I think it was pretty transparent. He said that they regressed. Kraft was able to watch that, and he saw that. He at first said, that started like at the mid-season point. But then he also said something specifically about the last month of the season, which I think we can kind of round up as, the post-bye week stretch that we've talked about a few times. The Patriots regressed starting at the midway point of the season, but that last month of the season really was a turning point. And I think, just kind of reading between the lines with what Kraft said, I think we can gain that, we can glean that. And just one last thing, a takeaway, I thought it was a little funny, just, Robert Kraft wanted nothing to do with the Mike Vrabel reports. Obviously the Mike Vrabel reports are anywhere and everywhere at this point. He's been called the front runner. He's interviewing at the job, all that sort of thing. Execs from around the league, I saw a report that execs around the league are expecting Vrabel to take over the Patriots. But Kraft very smartly just kind of declined and said, he'll talk about the top candidates when they make their top when they make the decision.
I think it was smart, Smizzle, because we'll get into it. And I said this to George yesterday. I like Ben Johnson personally, but I want to go back for a second. Retaining for now the other coaches still on the staff. Elliot Wolf and his crew still on the staff for now. You used a quote, a phrase noteworthy to you. So let's dive into that. I want your opinion on this. I mean, from where I sit now, and you and I are in lockstep of, finally Robert Kraft took some ownership here. This was my bad. We're moving on. Okay, cool. My issue, Smizzle, is from telling you all year, I wanted all the heads to roll. I want Wolf out. I want all these coaches out with Jerod Mayo. My issue is not so much that Robert Kraft finally ripped the Band-Aid off on the Jerod Mayo experience, but now it's like, okay, this guy's the scapegoat? You mean to tell me AVP and Covington and Elliot Wolf, why is he getting credit for drafting Drake May? Who the hell wouldn't draft Drake May? I mean, honest to God, it was Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. My 7-year-old son could make that decision. I'm not giving him credit for that. How about missing on Lab McConkey and others in this draft and getting some of the nonsense that you got back in return? I mean, George spent all year telling you these were bad draft picks. You overreached on some of these guys. So my question to you is, opinion-wise, do you feel like Jerod Mayo's the scapegoat here? Don't you think more heads should have rolled by now?
So I think, and I'll kind of parse through it in two different ways. First, with the coaching staff, I think all he is saying right now is that the incoming coach, whether it be Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, whoever it be, he is going to make the decision on the coaching staff. Robert Kraft, certainly, at least the way I'm taking it, he's not saying that Alex Van Pelt will be back at offensive coordinator and DeMarcus Covington will be back at defensive coordinator and Tyler Hughes will be back at receivers coach. He's not trying to say that. He's just trying to say that right now it's status quo until the next head coach comes in, which I think that's fair. I think that's understandable. It's a lot of it is going to be the next head coach's guys. So, they might not be fired right now on, January 6th, but when that coach is hired on, I don't know, January 20th or whatever, I have a feeling that those heads will roll then. And then just to your part about the executives in front office, I think it's a valid point. I think that, based on what Kraft said, again, used the term evolved. So he was talking about a lot of things from, behind the scenes when it came to the grading process of the draft and all that sort of thing. I think a lot of that, based on how he, kind of talked about the regression, the on-field regression, I think that's on coaching. And then when you hear Kraft also say that, the personnel department evolved, I think it's very clear, the Patriots thought that the coaching was a much bigger issue than the personnel side of things. And that's why at this point, that's what it is. I also think that like when we heard reports yesterday about Elliott Wolf and company, probably returning, I think those are light years difference than Kraft coming out today and confirming, yes, we're looking for a collaborative environment and Elliott Wolf and company will be back. I don't think, in 3 weeks from now, if they hire Vrabel, I don't think he can go back on that and say, oh, well, Vrabel wanted a different GM, so now Elliott Wolf's gone. I don't think that wouldn't be a good start, to this whole changing of the guard when it comes to the head coach. So I do think at this point that those guys are gonna stay in the front office and they're gonna just rely on coaches. And hopefully, the coach that comes in here, whether it's Vrabel or Ben Johnson, again, we'll just stick with those names. Hopefully that's not a deal breaker, because it certainly could be, that could
if it's a deal breaker, you let him go.
No, I disagree. I want to stay here, Smizzle, for a second. Let's have this conversation, all three of us, because I can already see me and George disagree, so you're going to be the voice of reason here. So I'm thinking if Elliott Wolf is retained, and that flat out, he's staying, right? Wouldn't that turn off a Mike Vrabel? Wouldn't that be more, I guess, realistic for another rookie head coach in Ben Johnson, who, fine, pick your staff, of course. Here's a blank check. We know you want the money. Here's Drake May. Congratulations. Have fun with this. But, by the way, Elliott Wolf's going to be your guy. Okay, cool. Whereas Vrabel, Smizzle, may be like, hell no. Like, I want my guy, whoever that is, as the GM, calling shots, and my staff. Do you agree with that? Because I can already see George feels like it's a deal breaker, period.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a deal breaker. I think it's fair to question whether it could be. But I definitely, and I'll turn this to George in a sec, but I think I would agree. If Vrabel is not coming in here at this point because they're not bringing in a new GM with them, I think that's a mistake. But I think that mistake was made previously, before today, because Robert Kraft just came out and said Elliott Wolf is remaining. So for them to go back all of a sudden, again, in just 2 or 3 weeks' time and fire Elliott Wolf because Vrabel wants someone new, I think that's a bad look. So I guess either way, at this point, and maybe this is kind of where some of that back channeling comes in.Maybe they talked to Vrabel ahead of time and said, hey, we're going to keep this guy. Would you be interested? And, maybe they got their answer that way. But it's definitely a fair question. I mean, it could, without a doubt, impact how the head coaching candidates feel about the job if they don't bring in their own guy.
Well, the head coaching candidates are going to get to know Elliott Wolf, because listen right here. Here's Robert Kraft when asked on who will be involved in the head coaching interviews. We got the sound for you guys right here.
We'll have Alonzo Highsmith and Elliott will be involved, and we're going to try to understand who can help us best get back to the playoffs.
So that is interesting, though. Look, Alonzo Highsmith was an NFL player from 87 to 93, been a senior personnel offices between the Packers, Browns, and Seahawks since 2012. Between 2012 and 2017, 6 seasons, him and Elliott Wolf were both in Green Bay together. And Alonzo Highsmith was brought in this past offseason to be an executive in the personnel offices. What jumped out to me about all this, Mike Vrabel, there was an Athletic article that came out and what he was seeking in a job. And Mike Vrabel, according to Athletic, wanted clear and open communication with ownership. He'd get that with Robert Kraft. Collaboration with ownership and the general manager, and a good quarterback. So, again, with Mike Vrabel's name that keeps popping up, this isn't something that would happen. And the Mike Vrabel had an effect in the timeline and how quickly they moved past Jerod Mayo. But hearing that, Alonzo Highsmith, Elliott Wolf, along with Jonathan Kraft and Robert Kraft, will be in those interview rooms with head coaching candidates. Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, maybe Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, maybe Liam Cohen, maybe Marcus Freeman. I'm just throwing names out there at the end. That says that Elliott Wolf isn't going anywhere. Alonzo Highsmith isn't going anywhere. But to the point of it all, look, if Elliott Wolf stays and whoever comes in to lead the front office, I think there needs to be a new leader in the front office. You can't throw everything out the window, because the scouting that happens for a team, the second the draft ends, the page is turned, and then that personnel department is scouting the NFL draft. If you bring in a Ray Agnew or a Mike Borgonzi, they have to start from scratch. No. You bring them in, they establish leadership, they work with an Alonzo Highsmith, who has the ear of a Robert Kraft, they work with an Elliott Wolf. That is on Elliott Wolf. Hey, you got to eat your pride. You're taking a step back, because Elliott Wolf's not the general manager.
Okay, then that's a demotion.
That's
right?
fine. So, Elliot Wolf, you take it. But they're not going to wipe out the whole personnel department. I want new leadership. I don't want Matt Groh, Elliot Wolf, Sam Fioroni, and Cam Stewart leading decisions. They're Bill Belichick carryovers. You fired Bill Belichick because of him as a GM. That said a lot to me, but I don't think the book is closed on a new leader in the front office.
Smeezy, jump in here because to me, fire his ass. Don't demote me. Get me out of here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I get what George is saying, but it's like if you're going to do all that, just get rid of him. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be a little surprised if Elliot Wolf was content with that. But what I think is, and maybe they go about it this way, is, if they get Mike Vrabel's opinion on, okay, we're going to bring in this new head of everything in the football department, and Vrabel helps with that hiring, or at least signs off on that. And just to kind of look back, it was about a month ago, Albert Breer reported that he expected Vrabel would bring in a GM with him, and that name was Ryan Cowden. Vrabel spent some time with him with Tennessee. He's now in New York. So I was just kind of, I don't know, I guess maybe that could maybe up, but I don't know if he would be on the top of Elliot Wolf at the same time. I feel like that would be more of a higher level executive. But maybe what they say to appease Vrabel is just, hey, we're going to bring in this higher head of everything in the football department. These are a few of the names that we're thinking, how these names. And maybe that's something that, goes a long way.
Ryan Cowden.
You were on that.
Yeah, Ray Agnew, same thing. But these are the guys. I mean, there was a connection to it. There are the Mike Borgonzis, the Alec Halabys that you want to see too. Yeah. Hey, he's Sean McGuire of NESN.com. Sean, appreciate taking the time covering everything down there. Make sure to stay locked in on NESN.com for everything coming out Patriots as the day by day, hour by hour unfolds on another new regime in New England. Sean, appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So that jumped out to me, Trav, was the bite from Robert Kraft himself talking about all that right there. So if you want to hear more on all the happenings around the Patriots, from head coaching search to what they should do in this year's draft, be sure to check out Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. New episodes dropping every week. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else you get your podcast. If you're watching on Neston's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. So we can't talk about what Robert Kraft said about the next general manager without talking about what Robert Kraft said about the next head coach. Here is him when he was asked about discussing the qualities of the next Patriots head coach.
No, it's really a composite. I mean, you need someone who players can relate to and respond to, but they need to have a team around them that has product knowledge, in-game adjustments, knowing what their system is, just a lot of things coming together.
I mean, both of these candidates, both
in
of the
game
candidates,
decision making, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson.
They both have that.
That's what it says to me. Look, with Ben Johnson, he had 14 years coaching experience in the NFL.
Yeah.
Really made strides when he was with the Lions, but from offensive assistant, quarterback coach, tight end coach, wide receiver coach, passing game coordinator, then offensive coordinator and play caller. Of course, younger, never been a head coach before. There needs to be more structure around him. But the Lions have been top 5 offense in the league the last 3 seasons with Ben Johnson leading the way.
Yeah.
Of course, with Mike Vrabel, you have his tenure with the Tennessee Titans and everything he accomplished there. And he's a leader. I mean, he pushes accountability, and that's what the Patriots need more than anything. Someone that can come in and establish the culture and the leadership like the Patriots desperately need.
Yeah, I just looked this up. Ben Johnson's 38, Vrabel's 49. So they're both young guys. Ben Johnson, obviously, younger.
38 young, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, both guys have all those things. I don't know, man. The more we talk about this, I'm finding myself winning Ben Johnson more. I'm not going to lie.
I don't blame you.
And I also think this, too. And we need to have this discussion. I mean, there hasn't been a real interview process here in a long time.
Yes.
Bro. So
20 plus years, because they didn't interview any candidates this last go around.
I mean, listen.
Didn't do the same thing with general managers either, keep in mind.
Well, that shows. Both shows.
Yeah.
But look, if Ben Johnson comes in here and blows the socks off of this of Kraft and his son and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, here it is, Albert Breer. As of right now, Lions OC Ben Johnson plans to take interviews with the Bears and the Patriots. So, again, 2 places we're hearing for Vrabel, right?
That last sentence, though.
Signs he has real interest in the jobs. In New England, it illustrates, too, the respect Elliott Wolf has league-wide.
Son of Ron Wolf, again, been in a front office for a long time, does have the experience. Started with the Packers in 2004. So it's 21 years of experience around a front office.
It goes to what I said. Because he's young and we have another rookie head coach, you can tell him, this is your guy. Where I don't know, it's something that if Vrabel's more, I'm not going to say set in his ways because that sounds like an old man river.
Yeah.
But Vrabel's going to want his guy. And to your point, if Vrabel can pick someone and he either ranks the same as or outranks Elliott Wolf, then just get rid of Elliott Wolf.
Yeah.
I almost would rather Ben Johnson interview so well here and is so awesome and knocks everyone's socks off to the point where they go, no, that's our guy. He's dynamic. He's going to bring us into the new era of the NFL, and we'll actually have a real offense. I think Ben Johnson's your guy, and then you can keep Elliott Wolf. And it's a more collaborative, communal, we're all singing Kumbaya. Not so much like Jerod Mayo style.
Yeah.
But I do think you have more flexibility to keep an Elliott Wolf and not have any druthers, no problems about it, than a Mike Vrabel who's going to want to come in and want to bring his own guys, especially after you glossed over him last season. Let's not forget that. All these men are petty as hell. You don't make it to this level, George, without an ego. You don't think Mike Vrabel wanted this job last year? It would have been an honor to him to follow up Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And he would never say this. I'm sure he respects Jerod Mayo. But you can't tell me deep down Mike Vrabel wasn't like, you're going with him? Over? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some of that here, too. I just think Ben Johnson might – I'm not going to say a better fit because obviously Vrabel's a great fit. He is the Patriot way. But Ben Johnson is becoming more and more attractive to me as these days go by. He really is.
What's the staff going to be? Ben Johnson younger, not as established as a coach in the NFL, but – and when you have Mike Vrabel, he has the staff ready. And we saw Jeff Howe report, like right away, the Patriots putting in that request to interview Ben Johnson. How the rules go, of course, is it's virtual before the wild card round. And after that point, they allow it. And keep in mind, too, the Patriots have to satisfy the Rooney Rule. You're opening up the interview process. You have to do an in-person interview with 2 minority candidates, either a person of color or a woman. That's if it's an opening, your executive for front office, for head coach, anything like that. They have to satisfy that. One more bite from Robert Kraft. Here's him discussing the personnel department and how that will go down now.
I think that the department evolved a lot, and a lot of things were changed. We changed our grading system this year and have done things. Our drafts have not been good for a while, and that's not if you want to compete long term and be good in this league, you got to have good drafts because those rookie contracts allow you to go out and get the people you need to surround people. Looks like we lucked out. We maybe have 2 quarterbacks. But I think we'll hopefully see a big improvement this year.
Yeah, the last part, don't worry about it.
Right.
It's
He
just,
sounds like me.
It's businessman. Yeah, exactly. Look, from 2018 to 2023, 50 players were drafted under Bill Belichick. Only 10 you can say are hits. Jury's still out on a lot of the prospects. You have 1 good, 2 good years. Can you put it together, and do you make it to his second contract? So he's not lying about that, but the question shifts. Like all the talk is around who the next head coach will be. Who are they interviewing? To me, it again goes to, and if Robert Kraft wants to push, we haven't been doing good with drafting, but he's having Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith in these meeting rooms. Who is going to lead this front office? Because that's what's so important. So I have 2 names. Ray Agnew, currently the Lions assistant general manager. Started with the Rams back in 2017, now been with the Lions since 2021. He was there when they drafted players like Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, DJ Reader, and Kevin Zeitler acquired in free agency. Doing all of this, that is showing that he has an eye for talent, not just first-round picks like a Penei Sewell and an Aiden Hutchinson, but later on getting value. The one that jumped on my radar, though, because I've been all in on Ray Agnew. If you bring in Ben Johnson, it makes sense.
Yes.
Mike Borgonzi, Kansas City Chiefs assistant general manager. He's been with Kansas City since 2009, rose through the ranks right next to Brett Veach, is his right-hand man. And when he was with the Chiefs, He directs their professional and college scouting. And doing that, he's drafted Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Leo Chenal, Isaiah Pacheco, Chamari Connor. Those are late-round picks. He's been there for the Nick Boltons, the Trey McDuffies, the Rashee Rices. Here's a connection, though, and this is what gets me. From Everett, Massachusetts. His dad was a season ticket holder for the Patriots in the 70s. I normally don't give that much serious of a link to something personal because, of course, you have Eric DeCosta, who's leading the Ravens, and he's from here. But Eric DeCosta isn't going to leave Baltimore.
No,
he's been there since 96.
Ozzie groomed him to do what he's doing.
Mike Borgonzi, the Chiefs assistant general manager, learned from Brett Veach, who we've seen the homegrown talent the Chiefs have, what they do in free agency. They know how to manipulate the cap.
Right.
All this money that they have Patrick Mahomes and they're paying him this money, but they keep kicking it down the road.
Yeah.
That is someone you want. And this is a guy that's from Everett. His wife is from Reading. They still have family in the area. That's a dream job. The guy's in his 50s. He's been an assistant general manager, again with the Chiefs since 2009. We know what the Chiefs roster has always been competitive.
Always.
Go to the Alex Smith days.
Always.
Good rosters. Getting a lot out of a little.
Yep.
And to me, it's the importance of the late draft gems.
Absolutely.
Because as we give Elliott Wolf credit for staying there and drafting Drake May, you said it, anyone can do that. But the Jalen Polks, the Caden Wallaces, the whiffs there, the City Sows we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
No.
Being a great general manager is having an eye for personnel, not just in free agency, knowing how to manipulate the cap, but knowing how to draft, knowing how to scout, knowing how to find value. And that's why I like Mike Borgonzi a lot. Ray Agnew, Mike Borgonzi, those are the guys that need to lead.
You're going heavy on the draft, but it's also free agency too. You got to get somebody in here. And I don't give a rat's ass about, we
$132 million in cap space.
We tried to get Calvin Ridley, but the taxes, that's excuses stuff. We don't do excuses in the NFL. That's why it didn't work out for Jerod Mayo. Look, I don't care who it is. I love when GM George shows up. He's got all these guys vetted. I'll take any of them. The only name where I'm going to stop and say, hard pass, next, it's Elliott Wolf. Just make the change.
I'm fine with that, but you got to keep some of the personnel department for whatever reason. Robert Kraft sees something in Elliott Wolf, and again, it could be the loyalty. And that's why, man, right after the Jerod Mayo firing happened, I said there needs to be more. You need a full restructure. But if you bring in someone like a Borgonzi who learned from the Chiefs, learned from Andy Reid, Brett Veach, you bring in someone like Ray Agnew who's been around the Rams front office and now the Lions. These are the best rosters in the NFL. Injuries be damned. Lack of wide receivers be damned for the Chiefs. These are the best rosters in the NFL. Yes, they're helped out by Patrick Mahomes, but regardless, those are guys that have been around winning culture. You want to establish a culture, it's not just in the locker room, it's in the front office as well. Those are two guys I want to watch for. All right, let's get to what's trending, man. So talk about talent that's out there. Tyreek Hill's on the market. You know that?
What's going on with this guy, bro?
So Tyreek Hill wants out of Miami. I mean, it was mere minutes.
Look at his new profile
in the locker
picture.
room. Makes this Antonio Brown. This is Tyreek Hill. This is Tyreek Hill. Always does this. And the quotes that were coming out of him from the locker room is like, look, man, I'm out, basically. I got to make decisions for my family. Mind you, he did this after the Dolphins pushed up his guaranteed money to a total of $106.5 million guaranteed over a 4-year contract.
Don't forget trading
then an
for
NFL
him.
record. Yes, trading for him.
All those assets?
And he goes, first time I'm not in the playoffs, I got to do what's best for me and my family, basically saying I'm out.
Damn.
The Dolphins gave him all that guaranteed money as a show of, good faith. You were here for us.
Sure.
You're the best receiver in the game. We love you. Here's more guaranteed money. And what does he do? 17 games later says, I'm out. Refused to, by the way. Mike McDaniels asked him again in the game of the fourth quarter, refused to go in. All Mike McDaniels said was, I just heard he wasn't available.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
If I'm Miami. I mean, listen, what do you need to do if you're Miami? I think you like your coach. Although, let's see. Let's give him some more time here. But you got to get tougher, don't you? You can't depend on Tyreek Hill. You can't depend on Tua. I mean, damn, dog. You can't play in the cold. What else can't you do? So if I'm a Dolphin fan at this point, I probably have a cheetah jersey. I for years since he's arrived, I'm like, he's the best receiver in the game, like George just said. At this point now, I'm saying good riddance. I'm with him. With his new profile pic that we showed, deuces, bro. Get up out of here. Because this team needs an overhaul in the toughness department. They are a talented team. Tyreek Hill's a part of that.
Yeah.
But you have to get tougher. So you know what? Because we didn't make the playoffs for the first time in your career, everything's me with these receivers always. You notice that?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't make the playoffs for the first time in your career. Get your ass out of here. We got to get tougher. Who wants to be here? Who wants to be in the trenches? Who do we need to bring in that can bring that toughness, that can bring that lunch pail, punch you in the mouth mentality that's missing from the Dolphins? I would say good riddance to Miami because the money you could free up could help you bring those kind of players in.
I loved it too because Omar Kelly in Miami tweeted out, Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill basically said he wanted out of the Dolphins organization after the game. And that was 100% accurate.
He
right
said
down
it.
to the T.
He literally said
At the
it.
end, he goes, I'm out, bro.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. I'm done. All the money they gave him,
See ya.
the draft capital they gave up.
Right.
This guy came here and said Tua's the most accurate quarterback he's ever played with.
Lies.
Which is fine. There is a fine line between confidence, which wide receivers have, and delusion. And this guy had a career worst year. Like, his age is showing. You know what the Dolphins do? Trade him. You get a second-round pick in return because culture is really important in a lot of teams.
And you get that money off the books. By the way, if you cared so much about winning, why didn't you take less money and stay with maybe
Chiefs.
one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time
Yeah.
in Patrick Mahomes?
Because he would have more rings, but he said, "No, I'm good." All right.
Did that buzzer get longer?
Yeah, it did.
Did you hear
I
that?
hate
There
it.
was an extendo on that. I didn't like it.
So the Jets. Imagine all this for the Jets. Let's say Mike Vrabel lands with the Patriots because
Okay.
reportedly out there, Mike Vrabel took the interview with the Jets to push the Patriots along. Here's from Connor Hughes tweeting out, I've heard Ben Johnson does not have interest in the Jets' vacancy and has made that known. Not requesting to interview him indicates feeling is mutual or not worth the time. Some questions on how he'd handle New York.
Oh,
At the
please.
end, that's the Jets.
Please.
Connor Hughes is connected to the Jets. Ben Johnson doesn't have interest in the Jets because he has to sit down and meet with Rick Johnson all day. Mike Vrabel used the Jets as a leverage piece to push the Patriots along and go, hey, hurry up here. I'm taking interviews. And then Ben Johnson, who wants to interview with the Patriots, said, I'm good to the Jets. The Jets are a joke. Like the Jets, I would say, are the biggest joke in the NFL. Bigger joke than the Browns. Bigger joke than the Raiders. Bigger joke than the Panthers with David Tepper as their owner.
Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jets are the biggest joke in the NFL.
Brick.
Ben Johnson is looking at an offense with Garrett Wilson, two good running backs,
Yeah.
New York. You know the poll New York always has, right? New York.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm good. I'd rather go up to Foxborough and interview there.
Well, we talked about this, bro. Remember last coaching cycle, Ben Johnson was hot Shaq then too, and he just was like, look, I want to go to a really good situation, which the Patriots do have. But why? I mean, the whole can he handle New York? Oh, please.
Yeah.
Like, just stop. I'd tell you one thing. Let's have this discussion. If Dable was fired, I bet you Ben Johnson would be interested in that damn Giants job. That's in New York.
Yep.
So, like, I don't want to hear that nonsense. The Jets are a joke, as George said, and we all know it. And so, good for Ben Johnson. In fact, the Jets, maybe Jerod Mayo should coach the Jets. Because who the hell wants that job? Rex Ryan is on TV every week begging to come back to the Jets.
Insane.
No one is going to take that job who's worth their weight in salt. You're going to get a rookie head coach, not a Ben Johnson, okay? Not that caliber, my friend. You ain't swimming in them waters.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a rookie head coach or a retread in also ran that no one else wants, okay? Good luck with that. Maybe Doug Peterson, he's available, right? Like you're not going to get a top candidate like a Ben Johnson or a Mike Vrabel. It's not going to happen.
Or a Liam Cohen or a Brian Flores.
That's what I'm saying.
Would you rather coach at Notre Dame or the New York Jets?
Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman ain't going no
Would you
damn
rather
where.
coach at Texas or the New York
Bro,
Jets?
I'm not taking the Jets job unless I'm a coordinator who's been around for a long time. I'm trying to get a job, and I'm like, okay, fine. I can get this on my resume.
Would you rather be the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins or the head coach of the New York Jets?
Dolphins.
Yeah, it's that bad. I'd rather hold out for an actual job
Yes.
and continue to build up my resume.
Yes.
The Jets are an absolute joke. Now, if they called me,
Oh,
I'd be like, yeah, I'll take the paycheck.
no, you GM.
No.
No,
no,
yeah,
no,
you
no.
would.
Just
GM George.
Whatever's
I'm your
higher
coach.
paying.
You hire me.
All
You
right.
get the GM gig, hire me. I got you.
We'll be mercenaries for the bag. That's it.
I tell
Look,
you what, we're going to be tough.
Yeah.
We're going to be tougher than $2 steak. Tell you that right now.
I give it 2 weeks before I curse out Brick Johnson. I get fired. Bill Belichick. Remember, Bill asked the Jets to interview him. He said no.
Yo, the haymaker on Brick at the end.
Bill Belichick has a Twitter. Look at this.
No
His first
way.
tweet, beat Duke, D-O-O-K. My first words as a boy are my first words on X. Go Heels, hashtag Go Heels, hashtag Chapel Bill, hashtag Carolina Football. A lot of exclamations, a lot of hashtags. You think
Please.
Bill runs his Twitter?
Of course not. You know who runs Bill's Twitter.
Oh, his girlfriend.
You're damn right, man. Just wait till you see Bill dancing on TikTok. That's coming.
Oh my god.
You better be ready.
I will vomit in my mouth.
Well, you get that vomit ready.
Look, he's retweeting prospects that are meeting with him.
Oh yeah.
Retweeting Pat McAfee.
Oh, it's coming. TikTok dance Bill is coming. You better be ready. It's gonna be the
hashtag BB on the road.
Oh yeah.
How long until Bill liking posts he shouldn't like gets him in trouble?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it won't be Bill, but yes, it'll be Bill's account liking posts that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then Bill, will he take accountability?
No.
Or will he throw his lady under the bus?
It's probably an intern or something or some coaching assistant.
Oh, you're tripping. It's her.
It's the girl.
Yes.
She probably she
She's
takes
on
pride
payroll.
in that.
Bill got power. That's Temple Bill, dog. He's running things. Oh, she's running all accounts. I am telling you. Just someone clip this off, please. So when we get the Bill TikTok video, we can run this back because I told you so. Just like I told you Jerod Mayo was going to get fired and everyone said I was crazy, which I am.
Yep.
The Bill TikTok dance is coming. Be ready. She going to talk him into it. It's going to be choreographed. It's going to be whatever song is popping at the time. Everyone's doing the challenge. You know how it goes. Y'all know. You know. And then it's going to be Bill up there with a damn sleeveless cut-off hoodie and some khaki pants doing a stupid dance with her. And we're all going to clown him. And Bill's going to be having the time of his life. Buckle up.
I will vomit in my mouth. It'll be the worst thing ever.
I'm happy for Bill. I'm not going to lie. I aspire. I'm inspired by Bill Belichick. To age like this, think of how many years he was grumpy and just mean, and he was the Grinch. My man's found happiness. He's Chapel Bill. Life is slower down south. He's sipping lemonade in the shade.
He's got a boat. Go fishing.
Yeah, he got a pretty young thing. He going to be doing TikTok dances. You better get ready.
Hey, be sure to check out Netson's hockey-based podcast, The Hockey Hub. You can hear from current and former Bruins weekly, as well as the latest going on around the hockey world. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else you get your podcasts. That's Hockey Hub, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Trev.
Let's do it.
Let's get power rankings going, man.
All right.
You ready for this one?
Let's do it.
So this could be a big one. We got to go efficient. Quick, not too fast. Take your time.
All right.
Power rankings, 14-1, your playoff teams.
Oh, all the playoff teams. Woo.
Who's
All
14?
Right. Okay. So I argued with you in a whole offseason about the disrespect you were putting on Bo Nix's name. Yeah. And I told you, Bo Nix was in college for 47 years. Yeah. I watched all of Bo Nix, and I told you. The dude has experience in big games. He's been to different big schools in the country. He's ready to go. And I was right. What I didn't see was the Broncos being in the playoffs. There was no shot I saw that happening. For that, they're 14. I have no faith in them. They will be one and done. They're a year ahead of schedule.
Okay.
I think another offseason here, Sean Payton's doing a tremendous job and should get considerations for Coach of the Year. And the Broncos next year may be a real pain in Patrick Mahomes' side. But right now, it's too early. But so I have the Broncos at 14. I do like where they're headed, though.
Look, Bo, 1.6 air yards per attempt Knicks is a nice story.
Oh, God.
And he's perfect for Sean Payton.
It's just.
Broncos at Buffalo taking on the Bills. That's going to be a fun game. That Broncos defense is legit.
Close game?
I don't know what the spread is on it.
Well, we can get that.
But I'm just saying it could be interesting. But at the end of the day, that Bills defense is legit.
9. Bills are favored by 9. You taking the points with the Broncos or not? Ooh. Yes or no? Right now. Gut.
In Buffalo.
Cold weather. Those fans are going to be wasted.
Coming from,
they're going to get slaughtered. Don't overthink this.
Bo Nix is going to make bad mistakes, especially in the playoffs.
They're going to get crushed.
I'll lay the points.
All right.
Once that gets above 10.
All right.
But my 14 team is the Steelers. Look, you don't lose 4 in a row going into the playoffs, and I can really speak highly of you. So I keep it simple with the Steelers, man. Like Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin, the wall that Russell Wilson has hit. Yeah. It's just the team, the mistakes they make in certain spots. George Pickens is just an absolute joke. Like it's just at some of the most important positions are still unserious. Yeah. I got Steelers at 14. Who's your 13?
I'm going Packers. I'm very concerned. Yeah, I am. And you know, You had talked me into them as the season went on, but now I'm out. Well, Christian Watson getting hurt is a big loss.
He's always injured.
He is, but now, my goodness. And then also, Jordan Love. I know. You know where I'm starting to get concerned with him? Mm-hmm. Does he have that dog? Because he checks a lot of boxes. He has all the tools. But I don't see dog in him, and I'm getting very concerned. I don't, again, sort of like the Broncos, I think maybe next season could be the Packers. It's not now. I don't believe in that team. I'm off on them because I talked myself into them. Now I'm talking myself out. I'm out.
Tough matchup at Philly taking on the Eagles.
Yeah, they're catching that L, dog.
Oof, big time. I have the Packers way higher up. Texans are 13 for me.
Well, you've always believed in the Packers.
Texans offensive line.
Yeah.
It's just time and time again, we've seen the struggles. CJ Stroud just looks like he's been pressing all second half of the season, especially. The confidence isn't there for him to be comfortable in the pocket. They've dealt with their injuries. Nico Collins and him are both healthy, but it's the offensive line that worries me. Tough matchup for them with the Chargers, but I have Texans at 13. I have the Broncos at 12. So
okay,
I'm not thinking too highly of them. Who do you have at 12?
Well, at least you put a little respect on Bo Nix's name. I'm going Steelers there. Look, everything you said is admirable. I agree. I think there's pressure on Mike Tomlin, and that's the only reason I have them a little higher than you. But the Steelers are a mess right now.
Who's your 11 then?
I'm going Commanders. Listen, Jaden Daniels is so special. I believe Jaden Daniels is very capable of not only going on a run, but taking over the damn NFC as we see it. I know the Lions are hot shack right now. I know the Eagles are always a problem. This Jaden Daniels kid is so special. He can get hot. He already is. But if he could stay hot, this team could go on a run. I am high on the Commanders.
I have a much higher. Rams at 11 for me. Feel like I'm low on them, but the back end of that secondary worries me. The offense is getting healthy. The offensive line is good. They have a run game with Kyron Williams. Two really good receivers, really a receiving room that goes 4 or 5 deep. And they got Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. But that defense does worry me, especially in playoff football.
You tripping on the Rams, dog. I'm going Texans at 10. DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud, I hear what you're saying. They are a mess, and that division's even worse. But that head coach quarterback combo, damn, that's good. And sometimes in the playoffs, that's all you need. I'll go Texans at 10.
Chargers at 10.
Oh, okay.
Jim Harbaugh, tough football team.
Yeah.
The way they play travels, they run the ball, they win at the defensive line. We saw how dominant their D-line is firsthand taking on the Patriots. And again, I'm looking at this of like teams objectively, but also what their matchup is. Chargers taking on the Texans. Yes, it's in Houston, but that D-line matchup with a really bad Texans offensive line, Chargers team with a good secondary, and they're just going to eat up clock, run the ball. I do like that. That's a game though. You got to lean under. DeMeco Ryans, defensive head coach against Jim Harbaugh. I'd lean under in that game.
I'm gonna go Vikings at 9. I think they're a great story, not a great team, and they're gonna lose to the Rams.
I have Buccaneers at 9.
Okay.
I feel like I should have the Chargers higher than them. Baker's a gamer. Mike Evans is healthy. The offense is good. Let's see how good the defense shows up. I have Commanders at 8. So I'm way higher than you.
You like them, yeah.
I don't like the defense, but I like how Jaden Daniels just covers up so many flaws. And late in game, he is clutch. Talk about experience, playing in big games, playing in different spots throughout college football, playing at LSU on the road in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I like him in the postseason, man. I really do. Especially in a matchup with the Buccaneers. I think Commanders win that one.
I'll give you my next 2 because it's for the same reasons. Chargers I have at 8 and the Rams I have at 7. And it's because of that, and I mentioned this, head coach quarterback combo. With the Chargers, I get Herbert and Harbaugh, yes, please. And with the Rams, I get McVay and Stafford champions. And then sprinkle in Puka and Kupp healthy, yes. Give me Chargers at 8, Rams at 7.
Packers at 7 for me. That defense forces a lot of turnovers. I am worried about Jordan Love. I do think they lose because the Eagles are that good, but I like the Packers at 7. Who do you have at 6?
I have the Bucks. Ooh. I believe in them way more than you. They have team chemistry, and Todd Bowles. I hear you on the defense, but that's a championship coach with a defense in mind that can dial them up like nobody's business. The Bucks could go on a run here.
At 6, Kansas City Chiefs.
At 6? Lord have mercy.
Look,
Thank you and good night, everyone.
They have
I'm
15.
Leaving. What?
His defense is good.
Do you know they can three-peat?
I think they get lucky in too many spots. The games get tight. And when you're playing good teams like they will face, obviously have that first-round bye, playing at Kansas City's huge. But look, man, if it's Josh Allen that comes knocking.
Oh, my God. Like we haven't seen that movie before.
Josh Allen that comes knocking. If it's Lamar that comes knocking, With those offenses that can put up points, I don't believe in the Chiefs in clutch time. I have them at 6.
Clearly.
That says how much I think of my top 5.
Yeah, no Shaq. I got the Ravens at 5. If Lamar doesn't beat Mahomes this year, it ain't happening.
I got Ravens at 5 as well. Lamar, Derrick Henry, the defense has been figured out in the back end.
They better win it.
I just like my top 4 a lot more. Who do you have at 4?
The Bills. If Josh Allen doesn't beat Mahomes, it's never happening.
I have the Vikings at 4.
4?
Coming off that loss against the Lions.
You got them above the Chiefs?
Yes. That defense is the best in the NFL.
Dog.
Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell is the perfect nucleus. Even though they open up at the Rams, this is a team built for turf. Defense shows up. They put quarterbacks under pressure. And that passing game is absolutely phenomenal. Like Jordan Addison, what a gem they have with him next to Justin Jefferson.
Dog, you got Sam Darnold over Patrick Mahomes, bruh.
I have the Vikings over the Chiefs. I do not have Sam Darnold over Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
You do this all the time.
I'm going Eagles at 3. Look, everything's kind of falling into place for them in the NFC. I hear you with the Lions.
Jalen Hurts needs to clear protocol, but yes.
Yeah, well, right, of course. But yeah, I like the Eagles. It feels like it could be their year while everyone's talking about the Lions.
Bills at 3. Josh Allen, Superman cape.
Yeah.
They'll at least open the playoffs, at home. I just think that's big for them. I believe in them to win at Kansas City.
Okay.
So I believe in the Bills.
Unlike my man here, I have to go chalk for 1 and 2 because, they kind of earn the 1 seeds for a reason.
I don't care.
So I know you don't. I'm going to go Lions at 2 instead of putting them at 1. I do love they sent a message beating the hell out of the Vikings. That was a message that they sent. I like that. But Dan Campbell just worries me to pieces with the gambling. And I'm a gambler, and he still worries me. But I'll go Lions 2 here.
Lions at 2 as well.
They feel like destiny a little bit.
Somehow Aaron Glenn keeps getting that defense showing up. Dude, if that defense performs in the postseason, all the talks around Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn
Yes,
is
sir.
going to land every single interview he wants.
Yes, sir.
Him and Brian Flores, playoff success, those guys will land really good jobs.
Absolutely. I agree. Well said.
1, I have Eagles.
Oh, my God. Okay. Go ahead.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
Vic Fangio, when you have a defense where you only need to rush 4, keep everything in front of you, 2 really good corners, an offense that runs the ball, 2 great tackles, and Jalen Hurts clears protocol, this Eagles team's been phenomenal. You're like sleeping on them. They've been absolutely fantastic all season long.
I'm not sleeping.
You are.
My number one team.
Wake up.
My number 1 team.
Yeah.
Beat them in the Super Bowl.
Kansas City Chiefs. They look like dog this year. Dog. SH.
There were years where Brady did not have the best rosters, and he willed them, and he showed up.
But were they winning this ugly?
That's a fair question to a Patriots fan who watched every single game during that dynasty, right?
Yeah.
I know this. What I'm seeing with this young man in Kansas City looks like Tom 2.0 to me. So until they lose, I have the Chiefs at 1. I'm sorry. I can't put all these teams, these paper champions, over the potential 3-time champ. I can't do it. And it is ugly. It is. But I can't do it. I can't. Won't do it. Can't do it.
I hate them and they stink.
And they stink.
I think the Chiefs stink. I don't think Mahomes stinks. That offensive operation with the lack of an offensive line.
Yeah.
That's what beat them against Tampa in the Super Bowl. That was their demise.
Right.
The Bills can rush a passer. The Ravens can keep it coming. Like
We've
Kyle
heard
Van
that
Noy on the
before,
resurgence.
dog. We've heard it before.
And hey, look, fine. If it's in the Super Bowl, somehow the Lions get pressure. It's the Eagles or the Vikings that dethrone them. It's the Eagles or the Vikings that dethrone the Chiefs.
I'll take Eagles or Rams.
I'll take Eagles or Vikings.
Okay.
That'd be a big run by the Vikings and Sam Darnold. God, I just took
Good luck
Sam
with
Darnold
that.
over Patrick Mahomes in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. Now I get
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Let's go Eagles.
Right.
He's Travis Thomas of George Balekji. This is Boston Center in the chat. Hey, make sure to check out new episodes dropping daily wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and YouTube. And head over to Neston's YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button as well. We'll see you guys next time.